Alright, so for this lesson we're going to take a little bit of a look at the circumference of a circle and how to calculate that. There are two basic formulas that you'll follow for calculating the circumference of a circle. The first one is the circumference equals pi times the diameter. The second one that is used is circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. These are essentially the same formula, because if you think about this, 2 times the radius gives you the diameter. The reason these are two different formulas, though, is sometimes they will only give you the radius of the circle, so you have to go with the formula on the right. Sometimes they'll give you the entire diameter of the circle, so then you can just go ahead and use the formula on the left. Now let's take a look at this problem here. It says the diameter of the truck wheel is 35 inches. About how far does the wheel roll in one term? And they want us to use 22/7, and that's what this fraction is, 22/7 for pi. So the idea here is we have a circle, and if we could mark a notch on it, the idea is that we're taking this circle and we are unrolling it. So we're rolling it out to see how far the wheel would roll. So the idea is we're unrolling it and it's laying it out so that we can find out how far it would roll in one turn. Well, by unrolling it, right here, unrolling it, we're finding the circumference of the circle. Now they tell us right here the diameter is 35 inches. So we're going to use circumference equals pi times diameter. And they tell us that for pi, we're going to use 22/7. Now, a lot of times we have different options for pi. We could use 22/7. We could use the actual symbol pi, which is really simple to use. It makes things much easier. We don't have to do a lot of calculating then. Or we could use the approximation for pi, which is 3 1400ths. Okay. In this case, they want us to use 22/7, and we'll explain why here in a second. So we go ahead and set up the problem. Circumference equals, for pi, we're using 22/7. My diameter is 35 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put 35/1 as a fraction, because 22/7 is a fraction. And now we should see why they wanted us to use the fraction form for pi. And the book will do this a lot of times. 35 and 7 reduce down very nicely. Divide them both by 7, I get 1 and 5. So now I can just take 22 times 5. And 22 times 5 is going to give us 110 inches. So the circumference is approximately, and I used equal signs here and I probably shouldn't have, but the circumference is approximately 110 inches, which means the how far it rolls, or the distance it rolls, is about 110 inches is about how far it rolls out. Now remember, this is an approximation because 22/7, just like 3 1400ths, these are both approximate values for pi. The accurate one is this one right here. Remember, pi, anytime we do calculations for it, we're almost always using an approximation. We don't ever have that exact value because pi is an unending decimal. It just keeps going and going and going. This here is another type of problem that we'll see. The fan belt on Fernando's car wraps around two circular pulleys. One pulley has a diameter of 8 centimeters, so that's important. The diameter is 8 centimeters. The other has a diameter of 12 centimeters. Then they want us to find the ratio of the pulley's circumferences. So right there, circumference tells us we're going to be using either pi times diameter or 2 pi r for 2 times the pi times the radius. In this case, they've given us diameters both times. So we're going to use circumference equals pi times diameter. So the first pulley is 8 centimeters for the diameter. So it would be circumference equals pi times 8. Or we would express that as 8 pi. Pi symbol always follows the constant. The second diameter is 12 centimeters, so that equals C equals pi times 12, or 12 pi. Then they want the ratio of the pulley circumferences. Well, right now we have a circumference of 8 pi and 12 pi. Now these here, because we are given the, we want the ratio of their circumferences, right now this is all we need to have. We don't need an actual number value like 22/7 for pi or 3 1400ths and then multiply that out. We can just leave these as 8 pi because we're going to reduce this down anyways. I want to know the ratio of the pulley circumferences, so what I can do is express these two numbers as a ratio and put 8 pi over 12 pi. And what that allows me to do then is cancel out the pi's, which gives me 8 over 12. I divide both of those by 4. 2/3. That is the ratio of their circumferences, 2 to 3. So this is why using pi can be so handy in your calculations. There was no reason for us to take 8 times 22/7 or 8 times 3 1400ths. I can just take 8 pi and leave this in there, come up with this answer and this answer, put them into a fractional ratio, reduce, and come up with an answer. I got my ratio right there, 2/3. Or 2 to 3. So I can express my answer right there as a ratio. So that's a little bit on finding the circumference of a circle. I would encourage you to go ahead and do the rest of the reading in the book. There's a good example 4 to look at on page 260. And be sure to work through the entire practice set, as there's quite a few problems on there to work through as well. Good luck.